Hey! So here's an update on the current state of the game. The game will start with a cinematic that will describe all the events that have happened in the past. I'll skip the cinematic for now. After this, an in-game cinematic will play. This in-game cinematic will set up the story for the faction that you have chosen as a player. For example, here we can see one character running around trying to look for the king of the faction you have chosen. The short sequence you just saw is just a placeholder for now. The main part of the game takes place in the organize phase. Here the player can build units, construct buildings, and equip his units. Furthermore, he can move his units around across his domains. Next, we will see the player build his first buildings. These buildings all take a lot of turns and resources to complete, as is displayed above the menu. In the top right corner, the player can also monitor his current resources. Each building has a different purpose in this game. For example, here we have mainly buildings that will enable the player to construct certain items and units. Next, we will see resource gathering buildings. For example, the mine will be able to gather metal. Ignore that the Hunter's Lodge UI is a bit misaligned. This is all just a work in progress still. In this game, we can also enter certain buildings where we will be able to do things. Here we have entered a castle where you will be able to organize your units. We can see two of the knights standing there as well as the organizer. On the organize panel, you will be able to move around your units and assign them to different knights. Each knight acts as the commander of up to 6 units, and you will be able to take 3 knights into combat. So that means you can have a maximum of 3 knights and 18 monsters fighting each other. You don't have to take that many, and you will be penalized for taking too many creatures with you. Next, we will move our knights. We have to do this because we can only attack domains that are neighboring each other. So these knights are situated far away from the front line. So we move them closer. Here we select one of the knights and move it to a domain that is next to an enemy domain. We are now entering the attack phase. Normally in this phase you would be able to choose knights to attack a different domain. But for now we won't be attacking. This has basically concluded the first turn. Now not much has happened, except that our knight has now moved to another domain we control. Here, as in every of our domains, we can build additional buildings. For example, we choose an alchemist and a training grounds, which will be able to construct potions and units. We also have a third domain where we can also build some new buildings. But we will always have to keep in mind that we do not have infinite resources. We construct a few more resource gathering buildings for this cause. And as you can see, we've run out of resources. To gain resources, we have to build the buildings we've just built and wait a few turns. Each turn, new resources will be added to our pool. Now, you might have noticed that all of the game looks very bleak at the moment. This is just a work in progress, so I hope this will change. And here's a small domain that looks slightly better than the rest. And now we're just scrolling through the map, and I can show you a few of the different domains, which are all still work in progress, obviously. You are free to move the camera as you please, so you can look at all your domains in all of their glory. Currently, all these domains are held by the enemy, but you will be able to control them once you've defeated them. So let's end the turn here for now. We will now enter the attack phase again, but we will skip it for now. So a new turn has started, and we can now see that a few of our buildings have finished their construction. You will also be able to notice that a few villagers are now running around the domain. As with the castle, you will be able to enter some of these buildings. So let's enter the blacksmith for now. Inside the blacksmith, you will be able to construct items. You can also have a look around and just see what the blacksmith looks like from the inside. For now, we will construct a simple item. Each item will also cost resources and take a number of turns. For testing purposes, these items will just take one turn. You will also be able to equip your units with these items. Each item will have certain properties and might even add magical abilities to a unit. Now, the equipment doesn't look very nice at the moment, but that will change soon, I hope. That's it for the blacksmith. Now let's take a look in another building. Apart from clicking on the building and hitting enter, you can also use the side menu on the right. So let's enter the tavern for now. The tavern is the place where you will be able to assign quests. Inside the tavern, you will be able to send your knights on quests. Once a knight is on a quest, he won't be available for combat, but he might return with increased stats or even items and buildings. So it is always a good idea to send them on quests if you don't have anything to do. For example, here we will send one of our knights on a quest. Again, the knight we just sent on a quest won't be available to fight in the coming turns. While the knights you control won't die in a fight and merely be wounded, the monsters they control can die. So it is always a good idea to build more of them, as we will do here in our training grounds. That should be enough for this phase, and now let's attack our first domain. First, we select an adjacent domain to our enemy and hit the attack button. This will highlight all the lances that are available for attack, and we will simply choose 2 of them or 3 of them to attack. Now that we have chosen our domain we wanted to attack, we can hit execute and the battle will start. Here we can choose the 2 lances we have just selected for the attack, and they will be placed on the battlefield. Our lances are indicated with the blue dots and the enemy with the red dots. During combat we can move our units, attack with them, use special abilities or magical abilities. For now, let's just move one of the lances closer to the enemy. The combat system is still early in development, but there is a basic AI that is able to fight, and I wanted to show you how it works. For now, we will just move them closer and not attack with them yet. Once each unit in a lance has completed their moves, the next lance will be able to start moving. Here we move some of the units closest and start our first attack. For testing purposes, all our units do a lot of damage so that the enemy dies faster. As I explained earlier, monsters will die permanently. However, knights, they will merely retreat once their hit points reach 0. Once a knight retreats, he will take all his units with him and leave the battle. So it suffices to kill all enemy knights. One must, however, consider that they are heavily protected by their units. What we saw here was one of the AoE magic abilities, and this magic ability even leveled up one of our characters. This character is now done, and it is now the AI's turn to move. It starts off by killing some of our monsters. And now it goes in for the final kill and wounds our knight, who will now retreat to one of our remaining domains. To return the favor, we will now try to kill the enemy knight in order to force him to retreat to one of his domains. The knight has been wounded and has now retreated. We have thus won the battle. At the end of the battle, we will gain a bit more experience and some of our units will level up. Now that we have won the battle, the domain is ours. You can see this by looking at the mini-map down below. The colors have not been chosen wisely, sadly, and it is quite difficult to differentiate them for now, but I hope that will change soon. It is also wise to start building early on so that you can gather resources. Inside the castle of the domain we just conquered, you will be able to see the knights with which we attacked. Now that also a new turn has started, the unit we have started to build has completed. It is wise to assign it to another knight so that we can start attacking with it. And finally, here's a look at what it looks like when one of the knights returns from his quest. Basically, an in-game cinematic will play that will retell the story of his adventure. At the end of this in-game cinematic, you will be informed of what the knight has gained. This can be stats, items, or buildings, or a combination of these.